All right, thank you everyone for coming. First, we would like to acknowledge this land that we meet on today is the traditional lands for the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. Have we received any apologies? Just from Grace. Grace? No worries. Motions to grant leave of absence. Councillor Davies.
For Renee from the 6th of July to the 30th of November.
Thank you. Okay. Can I have someone move that, please? Oh, second it, please. Thank you, Councillor Shanks. And all those in favour? Unanimously carried. All right. Any non-attendance? Alexander, Talon. Okay. Moving on to the public open forum. We'll have 5-10 minutes per presentation. Tonight we have 2 people presenting in the forum. Miss Kim Wright, the Community Development Coordinator at Gawler District College Beta 12 Children's Centre, and Sonia Regan, Independent Youth Engagement Consultant. So Kim, if you'd like to go first.
Thanks very much. Can you hear me? Is that okay? I'm loud anyway, it's okay. I too would like to acknowledge the Kaurna people, that land that we meet on today, particularly as it's NAIDOC week this week, and we acknowledge they are the custodians of this land, and I want to thank them for allowing me to be here. I want to thank you for allowing me to be here as well to present. I'm part of a network of different organisations that won a grant through the Gawler Council, particularly with the Zonta Club of Gawler, Club of Women, to run some community events as part of their community stimulus program. And one of those events we wanted to host and try and not try, but to put on, was something for the youth. And what came to mind to us as we were doing the grant was around cyberbullying, and at the time the coercive control and no means no, and just being safe online. So as the last few months I've been meeting with the Gawler Youth Worker Network, thanks to Deb Speed for allowing me to be there, and we've been trying to work together to put this event together in September. So we still have a bit of lead time available. And what really was recommended to me was to come to you to certainly get your feedback, because I'm an old 64-year-old lady and I wouldn't imagine that I have anything up here that makes sense to younger people today. I mean, I've lived life and I've seen it, but that's okay. So basically what I guess we're hoping to do is to provide an event that will align with the Youth Worker Network meeting on the 27th of September. I've been doing a lot of phone calling and connecting with different people in the Youth Worker Network as well. So from Relationships Australia with their gambling online worker who is there to help with the youth, because it can be a big problem, to Randall Murch, who's with SAPOL, and he's got some great contacts around gaming online and some of the good and the bad about gaming online. But also too, today I've been speaking with Tabletop Warfare, and they're really keen to come along and actually have a space available at the event and to provide some fun for the kids that come along. So I'm here, I guess, to seek your feedback, to seek how I can do it the best way possible to reach the young people of Gawler, and to be there for them. And with this event, it's around providing like a bit of a pop-up expo mindfulness, wellbeing expo with Headspace, Sonda, also too with Uniting SA, also with SAPOL being there as well. The colleges, I'd love to be able to connect it. I'm sorry if I've left off a couple of logos here on my pages, but connect with the high schools and the wellbeing teams in the colleges to see, how we can do that. I do have a small budget. I'm sorry, it's not bigger. I have a $500 budget that we can work with. I guess I'm here to ask you if any of you would like to be involved in putting this event together. I would be more than happy for you to contact me, or my contact details are on the letter that I sent through to the committee, and we'll try and get together in the next 3 or 4 weeks to meet together and make this event something that's really special for the kids, and it means something, and they can have some fun at the same time. We can maybe have some pizza, or if we're allowed to eat. We might not be allowed to eat, I don't know, all the COVID restrictions. But also too, I've sent a letter off to Tom Zorich from Sports Power to seek some further sponsorship as well. So hopefully we'll either have some nice little giveaways or some vouchers to give to the kids when they come as well. So I'm working hard to put a lot of things in the background, but I would certainly love your feedback, because you guys know what's going on in the community with kids today more than I would. And I really appreciate that, and I respect that. So thank you for your time. Please don't hesitate to contact me, or through Deb if you like. She'll get through to me. If you'd like to meet, we can meet after school or after work, whichever's easiest for you. And let's do it together for the community. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim. I'll ask for questions. Does anyone have any immediate questions? No, that's okay. As she said, the contact details are on the sheet as well, if you do come up with any. So next we have Sonia Regan. Sorry, if you'd like to come up and present now, please.
I hope my voice is as loud as Kim's. Can you hear me? How's that? So I would also like to pay my respects to the Kaurna people for the opportunity to live, work and play on this land. I think it's an honour as a non-Aboriginal person to be able to be in this space. I would also like to thank all of you guys for letting me kind of come in last minute. I think it was 4 o'clock this afternoon I organised to come along. So thank you to Councillor Davies and Councillor Shanks for our conversations about my work today that's kind of led to me being here. So I guess just to give you a little bit of background about where I've come from. So I have been working in kind of family support, working with families, working with kids for about 20 years now. So working with families on helping them keep their kids in their care, working with sort of families to understand their child's development, to access services, all that kind of stuff. And then more recently working with working as an advocate for children who are in care, and also working with the South Australian Children's Commissioner, who you may have met before, and working on getting out there and listening to young people's voices, particularly young people with diagnosed disability, who don't often get to be part of spaces like this. So my immense passion is giving kids a voice and giving kids an opportunity to be heard and be part of decision making in their community. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually offering, I guess, my expertise, if you like, my services to local councils, to local community groups, as a way of supporting that to happen and supporting young people to be effective in how they actually influence decisions in their communities. So I reached out to the local councillors around some stuff that's happening in Gawler and some of the decisions that are being made at council about whether or not there's opportunities to support the youth voice in some of those decisions. So I'd really love to hear from you guys about, you know, how that's looking from your perspective, whether there's a space for support, whether you feel like you guys are representative of your entire community, and what that kind of, how that feels. And I know, you know, Councillor Davies, you kind of sort of said that there is lots of stuff happening in council at the moment where young people could or would be maybe included. So yeah. So I'd love your ideas, your feedback. You know, whether or not there's opportunities for me to work with Gawler Council or with you guys. But I think it's really important to have a really good understanding about what's going on for young people and make sure that we're kind of being responsive, as Kim has said, because, you know, we're all that little bit older and perhaps don't get it quite as well. Yeah. So is there any questions, input, ideas? Did that make any sense?
Councillor Shanks?
Firstly, you're a fast operator. I think you messaged me this morning and here you are. So
I know, right?
well played. I guess my question is just around communication for the Youth Advisory Committee. Is that those contact details something you can send through?
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So the document that I emailed to you this morning,
Yes.
I did bring a few copies with me. There may not be quite enough for everyone, but we can email that on. So yeah, absolutely.
Cool. No worries. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Jade?
Have you worked with groups or councils before, and kind of what are you trying to get out of working with councils?
So I work as an independent consultant. So I'm offering that as a service. So I have worked with councils before. So particularly in the strategic planning, community design kind of space. So basically I go out, talk to kids, put it all together and then present it to council. So that's kind of the way that I've done that before. I do quite a bit of work with non-government organisations as well, and some other sort of state and federal government sort of bodies as well. So yeah, does that make better sense? Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Davies?
So do you have any thoughts on, I guess, improving the, I guess, level of youth response and that kind of thing on, because we're regularly as a council doing public consultations and that kind of thing. And sometimes it feels like we're sort of always reaching the same group of people, and and then that's the kind of thing that I thought, would be good if we could get more, engagement from young people and that kind of thing. Is that something that you would be in your space there?
Yeah, possibly. So, I think certainly with the work that I've been doing probably the last 12 months around engaging young people with disabilities, and obviously young people with disabilities are not the ones who turn up to those community events. So it does take a much more proactive kind of approach. I often think about it as, so if you're standing on stage and you've got an audience, that if you're just throwing information out there and hoping someone catches it versus actually getting in the audience with them and doing that. So I think it kind of is a bit of a different approach, and it's quite resource heavy. So it can tend to take a bit more time and a bit more effort than perhaps we're used to doing. I think it's a different way of operating. So question, would I be willing to come and kind of support that? Absolutely. Can I offer some advice on how to do that? Absolutely. So yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. Any other questions? All right.
Cool.
Thank you, Sonia, for that. Do we have any declarations of interest? No. Confirmation of minutes. Would someone like to move the confirmation of the minutes, please? Brenna, thank you. Is there any discussion about the last minutes? Thank you. No discussion. All those in favour? Seconder, sorry. Thank you, Joe. All those in favour? Unanimously carried. Okay, any business arising from minutes? No. The officers' report. Debbie, would you like to speak to the officers' report?
Thank you. Through the chair, Obviously, there's just been a couple of updates since the report has been put together. The main one on the school holidays. Due to the COVID restrictions that came out last week, we made the decision to cancel one of the programs, the cooking class program, due to the obviously handling food, but also the small area in the kitchen that we were going to use. Also, we've had to postpone Prepare to Drive. Unfortunately, the instructor was stuck in the Northern Territory and is now in isolation. So that's a little bit of a shame, but that's just been moved. Obviously, we already had one booked for September. We're looking at getting a second date because obviously you have to book the date 6 months in advance to even get one in the calendar. So we're trying to work out to try to maybe run 2, but we'll see how we go. The other update is that the show is obviously coming up, and we are going to have a stall in partnership with Gawler Aquatics and Recreation, and that's on the Yellow Brick Show Road round. And we've got our, over there on the table is the sunglasses and bouncy balls that we'll be giving out to people collecting through the Yellow Show bag. So we'll also be calling for some volunteers. So anyone that would like to help man that at the show, obviously if you can have a think about that, let me know if you would like to put your name down, because obviously we'll be collecting that next meeting because the show is not that far away if we think about it like that. The other thing is we're just waiting for our promotional materials for the leadership presentation for Dubsby. So he will be coming out next meeting, before the meeting, to give us a leadership presentation. So that's that book that we gave out to the committee. So those of you hopefully can all make it, and we'll be promoting that throughout the schools and obviously through social media as well. So as soon as that's out. That's all for me, thank you. Has anyone got any questions?
No, all right. Thank you, Debbie. Can we have a mover, please? Thank you, Jack. And a seconder? Angus, thank you. And all those in favour? Unanimously carried. Okay. Items listed for discussion. 7.1, the Chair's verbal update. So I've only got one thing tonight. As some of you are aware, I'm heading off to Youth Parliament next week, and I'm involved in the Law and Justice Committee. I was just going to ask if I could speak about our bill just for a little while to show evidence of engagement with the community, which would include taking some photos if everyone's okay with that. Yep, wonderful, thank you. So the last 3 months, the Law and Justice Committee have spent time prepping a bill, which is an act to legalise voluntary assisted dying and reduce the suffering of those with a terminal illness. Our bill is pretty similar to the one that's been in the media recently in South Australia and Parliament House, being debated. And so even though at Youth Parliament we will be debating something quite similar, the bill will not move forward. Quite often they go to the members to hope to get some change from young people's voices. It's already been done, which is a positive. So that's wonderful. So I'm still excited to hear for my debate next week, the voices of young people around the issue. I have been in contact with other people who are experts in the area, so to speak, but I have to say I haven't really heard from many young people about the topic. So I'm happy to open this up to discussion if the members would like to express their views. If you would rather not do it in front of everyone else, that's fine. I'm happy to talk in private as well. But yeah, I was just hoping I could get some opinions about it, if anyone's got any. Councillor Shanks.
Oh, look, I won't leave you hanging there. Yeah, look, I think it's a good move forward. There's a lot of I guess, suffering that does happen with a lot of different people that go through things that we won't usually understand. So my wife being a nurse, she deals with these sorts of things on a daily occurrence. And, you know, there are people that are in the medical profession look after that. They know there is no sense in prolonging their pain other than the rules that sort of force them to do so. So I think re-looking at this is definitely a humane response and definitely worth a discussion.
Thank you for that. Would anyone else like to speak on the topic? No, that's okay. If you do have any views, I'm really open to hearing them, so you can send me a message or whatever, and yeah, be more than happy to discuss it further with anyone that wants to. So that's all I've got for the chairperson's update. We'll move on to 7.2, the Climate Emergency Action Plan Working Group update. So I'll hand over to Jade for that, please.
Okay, so our last meeting was on the 9th of June. I guess the main thing that we talked about is our workshop, which is tomorrow, 9 to 4. It's an opportunity for us to kind of go over the document and make any changes we need to, look at our structures, our layouts, our kind of more visual aspects of the document as well. I don't have a lot to say about it as it hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure in the next meeting I will have a lot more to talk about. Something that I'm probably going to be working on during the workshop, along with the document, is a statement on behalf of the YAC, which will hopefully complement the mayor's statement. I am not entirely sure how this is going to kind of fit into the document as of yet, but hopefully that's something that can be discussed tomorrow at the workshop. If anyone has any opinions they'd like to make on this statement, feel free to talk to myself, as I'm kind of a bit stuck on it, but that's okay. Yeah, besides that, I guess one other thing we did talk about is checking smoke detectors. So I'm not sure if anyone knows the last time they checked their smoke detectors, but just a reminder. Cool, thank you.
Thank you for that, Jane. Very important message about smoke detectors there. So yeah, the workshop tomorrow, very exciting. Yeah, perhaps we can get some more information about how to write a proper recommendation in conjunction with the mayor's recommendation for the SEEP. Is that something, a template or something we could have access to?
Through the chair, it's something that we can certainly support Jade in. So maybe Deb can get in touch with her and we'll give her a hand.
Lovely, that sounds good. Thank you. So we will move on to the Youth Advisory Panel update. Councillor Shanks.
Sorry, just on the Climate Emergency Action Plan, the statement that we're looking for on that committee, the Mayor has given a draft sort of position on where the council sits. So she's speaking on behalf of council about how climate change is affecting the locality of the town of Gawler, I guess. For what statement we're actually looking for on that committee from the youth side, it's more about how does climate change look to you guys? What is it your generation is taking out of the information that's coming through on climate change? As you know, the youth have had a very strong voice in climate change activism. Jack Gill can sort of very big in that space as well. So I guess you can, yes, read the mayor's comments, but I would sort of suggest that you leave it as organic as you possibly can, because this is the document that will hopefully feed into all our other plans that say, look, this is how we're going to move forward on a council level, but we're going to look through the lens of trying to do it the greenest way possible to lower our emissions, et cetera, et cetera. And from that, in the front of this document that will be the overarching, so to speak, you have an opportunity to say at this snapshot in time, where does it sit for your generation? And then imagine in 10 years' time when you're reading that back. That's where I think the powerful message comes from. So yeah, just that's how I take it, being on that committee. But yeah, keep it your own thoughts. Don't try to just mimic what the mayor says, because yeah, your voice is the one we're sort of trying to capture.
Thank you, Councillor Shanks. Any other statements on that? No? Oh, Jack?
I was just going to suggest maybe the idea of a theme about the fact that we're at a point where we can lead the future generations towards a more sustainable future, that we have the opportunity to make the lives of the next inheritors of this town have a great space to live in. Something like that. I'm sure we can workshop that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you, Jack. Anything else? Wonderful. We'll move forward with the Youth Advisory Panel update, for which there really isn't one, to be honest. There hasn't been another meeting since I updated you on it last time. I think there is one coming up early next school term. So when we hear more details about that, I'll be sure to pass it on. All right. We move on to 8.4, Gawler Youth's accessibility to transport. Is there any updates on that?
There's in recent weeks, I've contacted a number of the schools that we initially sent out the survey to. We haven't had a huge increase in the numbers participating in the survey. It has stagnated a little bit since the early days when particularly Trinity North got fairly involved with it. We did get a response from Xavier, a response from Gawler districts, and they'll be looking to try and forward that on again and make sure that it got to the leadership groups it needed to. Trinity North has been particularly good at passing that around, and we've got a few results from there. Trinity South and Senior are still pending, for lack of a better word, but that should wrap up on the 23rd of July, and then we'll start drafting a report which has all the findings in there, and then we can decide upon where we need to go from there. So that's something to have a think about in the next couple of weeks as to what we want to be doing, whether we want to be talking to the minister, whether we want to be pushing for some more media, or whether we where we really want to take it from here. Thanks.
Thank you, Isaac. Does anyone else have anything to say? No? Okay. Move on to item 8.5, the Youth Space-Based Traineeship Program, which is going to budget tomorrow night. So tune in, everyone. Unless anyone's got anything to say about that, we'll move on. Wonderful. Items listed for discussion at future meetings. The tourism strategy or digital storytelling. So the people that came and did the presentation last meeting about that will be reattending to address the topic at a later meeting. Okay. The next item listed for discussion, commercial development of heritage building with Gawler. So some more information was needed to answer the question that was put forward by Abby. Move motion. Councillor Davies, would you like to speak to that?
Well, basically I was just talking with Abby before about putting that to a more specific request for a report, which potentially, I was thinking motions without notice, but we can do it whenever, I guess. So, I don't, did you, yeah, I mean, did you want to speak or?
So more specifically, it was on how commercialised food chains are buying land with more heritage listed buildings on it. For example, McDonald's in Gawler used to have 2 really old heritage buildings on it that was knocked down when it was built. And there was a few more buildings around the place. So I can get more information and specific locations on where they are and what has been built on that land.
Through the chair. We are just trying to work out the most specific way to respond, and we think that we'll refer this to another department within council, but perhaps request a report from them. So if we can move a motion of what specifically we'd like that report to be on, to then can be presented back to a future meeting. Not sure how long that will take. It might take a little bit, might be not next meeting, but the one after, but we'll certainly ask them to prepare something back in writing for the committee, if we can do that.
Councillor Davies?
In terms of a motion for a report, I guess some of the things we talked about were, I guess just an explanation on the heritage protection and its tiers, and what, the levels of heritage protection that something has, and what protections old and heritage buildings have against commercial interests, basically. And I figured that would be something that's able to more generally get a response rather than, I guess, specifically digging into the, to get a less technical response, I guess. Because if we go too technical, they'll come back with a 100-page jargon report about buildings that I don't understand. But yeah, if that was something, if you're happy with something like that, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Davies. I will ask now for a mover to recommend to council for that motion. Thank you, Abby. And a seconder, Brenna. All those in favour? Unanimously carried. Okay. Questions without notice? No. Motions without notice? No worries. Motions without notice? No. We can close the meeting then at 7:08. The next ordinary meeting is on Monday, the 2nd of August at 6:30 p.m. Thank you for coming.